What's up? We've got a new ban list and an official announcement, a rules update, some explanations for the ban list, because it was already revealed yesterday on the 16th, but now, as of recording the 17th, they actually released some explanations. So let's read them and discuss them. First one, the only banned card, because we've got a single banned card, 8 restricted cards, and a single banned pair. And the first card, Mad Ishida. By combining this card with a very small number of Valgrimmon, Duskmon, you can make great use of cards from your trash. Since this move can be performed simply by placing a single one of these cards in the battle area or trash, we decided that the 1-card limit would be more difficult to counter. Yes, so essentially, I'm really on Bandai's side. I've heard from a lot of friends that a 1-off would be fine. I do not agree with that statement. I think Mad Ishida to 0 makes a lot of sense. Looking further down the road, like purple decks only gonna get crazier and crazier, and being able to take any card from trash is crazy. Especially, well, they said at Valgrimmon, Duskmon, if you do the entire Duskmon Valgrimmon combo twice in your turn, which is pretty easy to do, you just trash, I don't know, 6 cards from your own deck, because, or 6 cards, 10 cards, 4 cards, whatever, and then grabbing 1 or 2 cards back is insane. Like, trashing 6 cards and grabbing 2 back is the equivalent of drawing 6 cards and then trashing 4 of them. The only difference is from the standpoint of a Gabumon inheritance effect and Icemon inheritance effect, giving you these draw 2, trash 1, draw 3, trash 2. The only difference to Valgrimmon and Duskmon is that you first trash and then grab it back to your hand. And you can also grab back things that were trashed a turn before that. Essentially, the trash is your second hand, and having a hand consists of, I don't know, 20 cards on the 3rd or 4th turn is way too strong. And once they have this card, nothing can consistently the Mad Ishida out of rotation. You will need something like Hexablau or Imperial Dramon Paladin mode to actually bottom deck the Mad Ishida, because if the Mad Ishida would be destroyed and you still have a Koichi, you could go into Duskmon, Valgrimmon and get back the Mad Ishida. So yeah, I think even at 1 it would be way too strong. You could loop infinitely with your combo, and you just need a single Duskmon. You need to see a single Duskmon. So just play Ukumon, play Purple Memory Boost. Once you have a Duskmon and a Mad Ishida, it's fine. You're absolutely set for the game. People are always saying like, oh, but you've got the BT18 Koichi. When attacking, grab back a hybrid, so you can also like infinitely loop the Duskmon. Yeah, that's true, but the Tamer costs 4 memory, and you also need to have a second Duskmon already in trash. So that's much more build-up than this Mad Ishida. Mad Ishida is crazy and will be even stronger looking down further the road, because there will be cards being able to play out a Tamer, grab back a Tamer from trash. It's purple, you know? Yeah, the Mad Ishida with purple hybrid just feels a little bit too much like Yu-Gi-Oh! Always having the same combo each game, each turn, twice, 3 times, 4 times, whatever. And yeah, using your entire trash. You can, does the opponent have a Tyrant Capitarimon? You can just grab back your Death Slinger or Rival's Barrage. Or do you just need memory to do 2 more checks? Well, just grab another Jack Raid, gain 3 memory, and go in with the Ginkaku Promote, go in with the Rush Gilmon. Do you play against a different purple hybrid player? Well, then just grab Argomon. I don't know, it's way too crazy. Mad Ishida at 0 makes a lot of sense in my eyes. But yeah, moving on, the restricted cards. Jack Raid, I drive-by shot there when I was talking about Mad Ishida, but Jack Raid at 1 also is warranted. Since this card was designed, the speed at which the number of cards in the trash can be accumulated has also increased, making it easier to secure a large amount of memory with just this 1 card. The result is that it has accelerated the game speed more than anticipated. This limits the design options for future purple decks, so for that reason we will be restricted to only 1 copy. If we look back at the first design team for the Digimon TCG, they were designing BT4, and the gameplay loop in BT4, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I wasn't there at the time, but you would like Digivolve once or twice in your turn, for example from a champion to a mega level Digimon, and then yeah, from there on you had a mega level Digimon. It was just that easy. You have a big blocker, something that has piercing, can go into your opponent's blockers, whatever. And losing a stack and fighting back and forth with like a slower level type of Digimon is fine. Like you would need, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 turns to actually build up pressure, build up some big stacks, and eventually when these stacks would be removed, you'd have, I don't know, 10, 20 cards in trash, maybe, because you would have to Digivolve and then die, because there are not that many cards that were trash. I mean, there were some cards, but not that many cards, so yeah, you would have to trash, maybe accelerate with a few when digivolving effects, but it would take some time to get 20 cards in trash. It wasn't foreseeable from the design team back then that you would have BT18 Valgramon that would just trash 5 cards. You would loop the entire thing, trash 5 more, and that was just more than an entire, I don't know, War Greymon deck had in trash at the end of a game back then. So yeah, just thinking about the future, thinking about the future of purple decks, Jack Rate should be at 1, and it's also fine at 1. Because if we don't have that much Matt Ishida loop grabbing back Jack Rate problem, I think Jack Rate at 1, yeah, is fine. Might go to 0 in another 10 sets, but I think at 1 it's fine. Next up, Fenrir Lugamon, and this one I feel like is a bit more controversial, but let's give it a read. In the Takumi Kazuchi deck, this card allows you to play Kazuchimon without paying the cost, which is necessary for the DNA Digivolution of Takumi Kazuchi. Since the role of this single card is overwhelming, true, we've determined that the one-shot performance of this card will discourage players from using other aggressive decks and reduce the diversity of decks in the game. Yeah, I feel like Takumi Kazuchi has always been a bit problematic in the sense that once you get your first Ukumon swing or Tyrannomon swing, you would always threaten lethal, because we all know Takumi Kazuchi trashes 2, checks 2 with Alliance, and then goes for game, while also removing enemy bodies or playing out a second body themselves and just not caring about the memory system. I said in my BANLIST prediction video that the Baumon is actually fine because you have to pay the cost in every Fenrir deck. Every Fenrir deck has to pay the Digivolution cost, even when using the Baumon. And that's the core idea of Digimon, that if you want to have a really big Digimon, you need to have great effects or pay the cost, or even both. And you cannot really always cheat the system. And Fenrir Lugamon or Takumi Kazuchi was, in my eyes, the problem card, but not really warranted a restriction. And I feel like Fenrir Lugamon is actually fine. It's a really good restriction, because without Fenrir Lugamon, you can still play the extend playstyle. You can extend your entire turn, go into any other Fenrir Lugamon, and just play out bodies with the BT20 Lugamon. You can really do your stuff. You can do your stuff, but you also have to give your opponent the memory. But thinking about BT17 Fenrir Lugamon, you would always cheat the cost that you just paid and go back to 2 memory. Yeah, I think that's kind of a toxic concept. I think neither Baumon or Takumi himself should have been hit, because if you are able to play around your Fenrir Lugamon in a way that Fenrir Lugamon actually survives a turn by, I don't know, blocking, using Scapegoat, controlling the board at the right time so the opponent cannot come back even though you overextended. They're just gameplay things that are fair, that interact with the opponent, and also give the opponent possibilities to interact with you, because that's the core idea of Digimon. You want to play cards, do something, your opponent has to react, and you react to their reaction, and blah blah blah. Yeah, I think this Fenrir Lugamon was overlooked, to say the least. People really abused it with BT14 Baumon, and even if they hit the Baumon, people would have found ways to go for BT17 Baumon, because the new BT20 Tamer can always link when you Digivolve, and you, well, if you again overextend and go into Soul Lugamon, you can just trash the Fenrir Lugamon and mind link at the timing of when Digivolving to, well, put the card under. Then you have a Tamer under your Soul Lugamon, so the Baumon triggers and you could Digivolve into Fenrir Lugamon. And now that you have Eiji Nagazumi, because he's treated as Eiji Nagazumi, you can play the Kazuchimon and your whole combo's there. So Baumon would have made the deck a little bit more reliant on the BT20 Tamer, but still possible. So yeah, this Fenrir Lugamon is a really good hit in my eyes, and was really... I'm not a big hater of Takumi Kazuchi, but I know how frustrating this deck can be. Next up, we've got Blinding Way. That one was just a matter of time, and yeah, let's give it a read. Since the time this card was designed, again BT4, there are now more cards that can complete combos by trashing security, making it easier to trigger those conditions and gain a large amount of memory with just this card. Also, its 0 cost allows it to be used at any time, greatly expanding actionable options and improving the player's ability to turn the game around at a greater rate. Yeah, Blinding Ray is crazy. So it has been used with Magna X a lot recently because, well, going into security is not always an option when there are a lot of BT20 ace decks around. Just thinking about Jesmon GX, Alphamon, or Ryukin even stealing your turn like that makes it really, really hard for Magna X to go into security and be unbothered by everything else. Blinding Ray facilitates the part of the deck that can just out interaction, so people can not interact with the Magna X, not even with Ace, not even with Blocker, because you don't need to get through the opponent's security, you just can take your own security. And again, same thing with Jack Raid, it was BT4. Trashing a security was kind of giving your opponent free momentum. They would just have pressure, because building up a huge stack and going through security without being able to be punished for it, because your Digimon was suspended. You could lose your level 6 Digimon just because of the suspended state of the Digimon. So going for a security check or trashing your own security was a huge difference. Much more than the 2 memory, because people were just throwing around memory back then. Right now everyone tries to choke their opponent as efficiently 2-1 as possible, while doing as many crazy plays as possible, and Blinding Ray, is absolutely strong, way too strong. They could have waited because Magna X is not the top deck, but with BT20 just coming out and people are already doing stuff with Magna, Omnimon X or Chaosmon or stuff like that, the variety that Magna X's immunity gives to level 7 Digimon, Digivolved on top of it, is just far too great, and Blinding Ray is far too versatile. It gives memory, it gives immunity, it gives an unsuspend in case you are suspended by, I don't know, Paildramon or something, and you couldn't unsuspend. So yeah, Blinding Ray is fine. Next up, also kind of controversial, Agunimon and Lobomon. Although these cards were intended to strengthen hybrid decks, they can be easily digivolved into Ancient Grey and Ancient Garurumon rather than using gimmicks that require 2 cards, such as BT17 Agunimon and Lobomon, making it possible to steadily produce excessive speed. This means that the reason for using other level 6s, such as Emperor Greymon and Magna Garurumon, is lost, and designs for hybrid decks become limited. There's a big personal part to this. If you have received Agunimon, slide into Burning Grey, slide into Aguni, and then Ancient Greymon for 5 checks, into end of turn Gigasmon, tap and look, you keep turn and go for Rush, last check. On turn 2, you are on the side of, Agunimon should be hit. And I feel like this 5 checks into go for game doesn't happen that often, but it really, as they say, it really limits deck building ideas, because if you think about hybrid, you had to think about, okay, do I want to go for the Ancient Greymon, Ancient Garurumon, or the law accurate Emperor Greymon or Magna Garurumon? And the law accurate decks, to say, were just not strong enough, not fast enough, because, well, these promo cards reduce, like they skip a level. This one skips an entire level and even kind of reduces the Digivolution cost by 3 if you think about it, because the old Ancient Greymon digivolves for 5 and this one just digivolves for 2, skipping a level. So each level can be considered as a 1-cost Digivolution, making it the most memory efficient card I think that exists. Also inherited with the Double Tamer, you do your entire BT18 combo for 2 less memory, and guess what? The entire combo costs 2 memory to digivolve on top of the Tamer, and usually 3 more memory to digivolve into the Ancient. So a 5 memory mega level Digimon checking 2 or 3 times depending on the Ancient Greymon is now a 3 memory combo, instead of a 5 memory combo. It's just way too memory efficient and not future proof at all. So if they were to release another level 6 Digimon that is Ancient Greymon or Ancient Garurumon, it would definitely see play because of these promo cards. And on the other side, if they're going to release more Emperor Grey and Magna Garurumon stuff, they would just drown, because there's no synergy between these promo cards or cards that exist and the Emperor and Magna, so there's just no way new cards will be that efficient, going from Champion to Mega for 2 memory, or just for one memory, there's just no way. There's just no way. These cards are way too efficient and make red hybrid and blue hybrid sometimes look like they're just cheating the game. Again, I personally think these cards would be fine in the current meta, but it would be cool to see other decks also looking forward with the BT21 support for red hybrid. They push it into a direction of, hey, you can also play Emperor Greymon, and seeing more play of that would be kind of nice. We just need cards that really facilitate a faster type of gameplay than, I think, the BT18 support, which has not seen a lot of meta representation. Maybe because of these promo cards, but well, we'll see. Next up, Mirage Gargomon. I don't think I need to explain, but let's read. Because it greatly restricts actions that can lead to comebacks from having more cards in hand, it is a card that is difficult to deal with unless the opponent is able to remove it from play. If the opponent is unable to deal with it, the player can easily set up a second copy of the card, continuing to limit their opponent's actions and resulting in a potentially one-sided game. Also, because it is a self-contained card, its versatility means that decks that include blue lose the diversity of other available blue cards. Mirage Gargomon is arguably not a problem in the current format, but, well, it's been poking at the meta, you know? It has actually won the finals event in Europe in Utrecht with 700 people. And if you saw the match, I also said that in my predictions video, the match was insanely one-sided. Digimon is a game where you draw a lot of cards or just reveal top 3 and add a card. A lot of effects, you know, you can't search your entire deck, so you need a lot of consistency cards. And Mirage really counters the entire idea of making a consistent deck, which would be kind of nice. You want consistency, you want efficiency, you want payoffs in your deck, all of that. And the really first part, consistency, is just negated. For lack of a better word, by Mirage Gargomon. If you really want to search with training, you will not pay 2, you will pay 4. It's just twice the cost without the same effect. So that's, Mirage is a problem, you know. I don't have to tell you, it's been around for really long, and this one, it's not for the meta, this one is for the fans. And I want to deeply say thank you to Bandai. Next up, we've got Stingmon. Stingmon ST09. Not a lot of people had Stingmon on the radar. I think a lot of people have problems with the Double Tamer and Pale Dramon, as well as the Memory Gain XVmon. But, well, let's give it a read. As the card pool has increased, it has become possible to include general purpose cards such as powerful level 6s that can digivolve from Pale Dramon and other option cards. And so drawing cards using this card's non-once per turn inherited effect has led to an excessive increase in possibilities. Also, because it can be played for a low cost, the number of cards needed for DNA Digivolution can be minimized, making it possible to perform the moves mentioned above and making the early game unnecessarily stable. As a result, the role of this one card in the deck is significant and the diversity of cards used is lost. That kind of contradicts what they were saying before, diversity of cards, because they were saying, well, there are a lot of general purpose cards, level 6s that can digivolve from Pale Dramon, but that now they're saying, well, the diversity is lost. So I think what they mean is diversity on level 4s, I feel like. You know, because you have the armor forms, you have the BT16 level 4s that were not used at all. You have a wide array of cards. And yeah, I totally agree. So one of the recently commonly used cards in Pale Dramon, like an addition with non-engine, has been Hexblaumon. Hexblaumon being able to just block off hybrid decks, Tyrant Kabuterimon, Magnumon. There just are a lot of decks that were hit by that card. Also, there are a lot of Dragon modes, there are a lot of fighter modes. BT20 just gave them a Floodgate fighter mode that just removes security, does not play anything by effects, no Tamers, no Digimon, and that's kind of crazy. So being able to have a hyper-consistent deck by drawing 5 cards, attacking twice with Pale Dramon. In case you're not familiar, the most used card, the most used egg, is a once per turn draw. The promo Vmon lets you not once per turn draw a card if you have 2 colors, I believe. And the Stingmon is just not once per turn draw as well, so you draw 5 cards, not even counting in Digivolution cards that you draw. Yeah, also you don't need a level 3 Digimon. I think, did they list that? The number of cards needed for DNA Digivolution can be minimized. Yes, so playing out the Stingmon for 3 is crazy. If you have a memory setter and a blue champion in the back, you can always DNA and draw 5 cards or 3 cards or whatever. It's, yeah, one of the craziest cards. It's super strong, even as the first Paildramon stack only needs to draw you a lot of cards for you to get into the game. You can also Digivolve it in the Raising, Digivolve a Paildramon on top, and thus drawing 5 cards as well. You don't even need to go into security, because again, the first Paildramon stack can just be used to get into the game. Establish a Paildramon, establish a Dragon mode, and establish a pretty large hand. Because you've all seen Paildramon players with 20 cards in hand. And you know they have the ace. You know they will have the Hexablau to out your board. And you also know they have the option Return to Primogenitor that lets you go into Starter Deck Dragon mode, do the entire DNA again, and attack twice again. It's crazy how this Stingmon gives you a lot of versatility just by virtue of giving that much draw power. A few people might say, you know, just drawing 2 more cards is not that crazy, but it is a difference. It is a huge difference. Well, surely it has to be, because it got restricted. I think we're on the last stretch, yes. Last card restricted is Kuzuhamon EX4. Combined with BT19 Taumon Ace or option cards that accelerate Digivolution, it is possible to Digivolve into a powerful level 7, namely Rune Mode, Aegistormon and Chaosmon. Also, by repeating the same action multiple times during a single turn, it can unilaterally dominate the playing field, creating a situation that many decks are unable to handle. To improve the situation, we'll be restricting it to only 1 copy. Taumon Loop is able to put out 5 bodies, including 2 Kuzuhamon, a single Rune Mode and 2 tokens or something like that. Being able to go for game at the 3rd, 4th, 5th turn, whatever, and leaving your opponent on a blanket -5 because of Rune Mode, or on a blanket no on plays and no unsuspense when they go into Chaosmon. Taumon Loop is unbeatable for a lot of decks. They said it's the same. Stuff like it can dominate the playing field, creating a situation when decks are unable to handle. That's absolutely true. It is, again, uninteractive. If you put your opponent on Rune Mode for 5 turns in a row, theoretically, or even 2 turns with 10k, is not playable. You cannot use Digivolution effects. Chaosmon prohibits you from using on-play effects, and Kuzuhamon is a really great hit. If people want to still loop, they need to play blue base and are really reliant on using Kaiser Nail on any Sakuyamon, which is a really downgrade, because red base with Kuzuhamon would let you play a draw 2 option and then play out the Taumon, giving you not only the payoff of playing out Taumon, but also the consistency with drawing cards. Also yellow base, kind of the same thing. You can use memory boost, you can use the dual color boost. If you want to search something with a different color, you can use training cards. And the Digivolution plug and acid scramble make combo plays also kind of consistent. Again, I'm a bit more on the red base side, but you can also play other sides. Well, you could. Right now, it's pretty hard to get a blue source when not playing the blue base. Lastly, banned pair, Mother Shoto. So Mother Shoto has been kind of a rogue deck killer because, well, let's give the explanation a read. Since EX2 Mother D-Reaper can be set up reliably early in the game, and Shoto Kazama being able to give it the blocker effect easily, you are able to set up strong defensive measures early in the game. We have determined that this combination is not good for the environment, as many decks have limited means of dealing with it. And the effect is highly reproducible because the only card required in the deck is EX7 Shoto Kazama. Yeah, this has been kind of toxic. Also, with the release of Medieval Gallantmon, you can suspend any amount of Mother D-Reaper cards to get out Medieval, delete something, floodgating your opponent from playing any Digimon, let it be hard playing from the hand or by effect, deleting their stuff whenever something is played. Also, gaining Vortex Piercing blocker unsuspend on the Medieval is also kind of insane. So yeah, crazy synergy. Also, we've got Bokomon, which just lets you reveal top 5 at any tamer. And if you're on the black hybrid stuff, you can also force your opponent to attack and Digivolve on top of Satsuki, which gains you memory. Also, you would gain 2 memory if you searched a black hybrid with Bokomon beforehand. So the Digivolution is just for free. While also searching, yeah, again, hybrids and a tamer card, any tamer card. That's crazy wording, by the way. Some of the top decks have great outs to Mother Blocker, but this deck was not intended to exist, and no one should have to deal with it and will not have to deal with it, actually. So yeah, that's the entire ban list explanation, announcement, whatever. I hope you liked it. I feel like there are some cards that I'm missing on here. but let me know what you think should be on the ban list as well, or if some of these cards were just unfair. Again, I feel like the Fenrir Lugamon and the promo hybrids are kind of controversial, but I really understand what Bandai tries to do with the game, and I like how they handled a lot of these decks. Again, Mirage was for the fans. Stingmon is just hyper consistent, really frustrating when they always go into Pedra. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.